All right, today we are going on a pretty wild ride. We're going to talk about the journey of project management, from a world of, paper and pushpins to an era where AI can, it can practically help us see into the future. So let's just dive right in.
I mean, really think about that for a second. It wasn't that long ago that managers were sketching out these enormous projects, assigning whole teams, and then basically just hoping it all worked out. It was all manual, a mix of guesswork and a whole lot of crossed fingers. So how on earth did we get from that organized chaos to where we are now?
This slide really lays it all out, doesn't it? We've jumped from what we're calling the manual era, always reacting to problems and full of human error, straight into the intelligent era. And that's all about being efficient, proactive, and making decisions based on actual data. This isn't just a small step up. It's a completely different way of building, creating, and getting things done.
So our story really kicks off with that first massive leap, moving from the physical world of paper onto the digital screen. This was all about trying to wrangle that paper chaos into a clear digital blueprint.
And for decades, this was just how it was. The whole manual process was just inefficient. Timelines would stretch and snap. Some people on the team were totally buried in work, while others were just sitting around. As projects got bigger and more complex, it became obvious that we desperately needed a better way.
And that better way, it came in stages. Back in the 80s, Microsoft Project was the first to really bring planning onto a computer. By the 90s, it started talking to other tools, making everything work a little more smoothly. Then the 2000s came, and that's when we saw automation start to take over the boring routine stuff. And that brings us to today, where we have AI assistants like Copilot, which act less like a tool and more like an actual intelligent partner.
One of the key innovations here was the Gantt chart. And this was absolutely revolutionary. For the very first time, a manager could actually see the entire project, every single task, every deadline, every person on one visual timeline. All of a sudden, these huge, complicated projects could be broken down into clear, manageable chunks. The clarity was just on a whole new level.
But look, just getting the plan digitized, that was only the beginning. The next major step in this evolution was making the software smart enough to do some of the heavy lifting all by itself.
And the biggest challenge it took on was this classic project management headache. Trying to balance the workload across an entire team by hand is incredibly hard. You almost always have some people totally swamped and others just waiting around for work to do, and that's just a recipe for inefficiency and, frankly, bad morale.
The solution was this brilliant feature called automated resource leveling. The software could now actually see when a team member had way too much on their plate. But here's the cool part. Instead of just flagging it for you, it would automatically shuffle schedules and tasks around to fix the problem. The result? A much more balanced and way more productive team.
Okay, so this brings us right up to the present. And honestly, the most powerful shift in this whole story, the dawn of AI. This is where the software stops being just a tool for organizing things and starts becoming a true smart assistant for the project manager. So what does an AI assistant like this really do? Well, it digs deep into all your past project data to find patterns you'd never see. It doesn't just show you risks, it gives you actual concrete advice on how to get around them. It might say, hey, maybe you should move this person over here, or you might want to adjust this timeline, all based not on a guess, but on what the data says will most likely work.
And all of this leads to AI's most powerful trick: predicting what's coming next. This is the ultimate game changer. It's the shift from being reactive, scrambling to put out fires, to being proactive and stopping those fires from ever starting in the first place.
This comparison really just makes it crystal clear. In the reactive world, a supplier is late and it's total panic. You're scrambling, the whole project gets thrown off course. But in the proactive, AI-powered world, it's a completely different story. The system looks at that supplier's history from day one. It might flag them as a risk and suggest you line up a backup during the planning phase. It might even adjust the schedule to build in a little buffer. The problem gets minimized before it even has a chance to happen. So with software this powerful, you're probably wondering what it means for the actual human in charge. Well, this tech isn't about replacing the project manager. It's about evolving them into something new, something more, a true strategic leader.
Just look at how the role has changed. It started with the task tracker, basically someone who just chased people for updates. Then it evolved into the digital planner, using software to keep things organized. But today, they're becoming strategic leaders,
Because the AI is handling all that data crunching and risk spotting, managers are now free to focus on the big picture and, well, to actually lead their team.
So, here's the most important takeaway. Automation and AI aren't about taking the human element out of the picture. They're about making it more important. By taking over all the tedious, repetitive, data-heavy stuff, these intelligent systems are letting managers focus on the things that only humans can do really well. Leadership, big picture strategy, communication, and keeping the team's morale high.
And that leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on. As software gets better and better at predicting what's going to happen based on data, what happens to human intuition, our gut feelings? Is it a partnership, a system of checks and balances? That combination of human insight and artificial intelligence, that right there is the next frontier. Thanks so much for joining me today.